is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for the solo variant of Euphoria and its expansion, Ignorance is Bliss, which the Anima solo variant came from this expansion. So, what do I think of this box lid that won't stay up? So this solo variant is actually pretty slick, and I know where they got their idea. Actually, this expansion came out before the expansion for Tapestry. But here's the coolest thing about this variant is the fact that it simulates a 3-player game, and does actually a pretty good job of doing so. And it does the exact same system that the Tapestry solo variant does, with having pairs of cards that actually incorporate what each player does. Because in Tapestry, you also have 2 colors that you play against to simulate a 3-player game, and this could also be thrown in if, let's say, you and another person wanted a third player. Because I feel like Euphoria is actually a really good game for 3 or 4, and I just think that's amazing. Like, the Ignorance is Bliss expansion, I believe, actually came out before Tapestry. I know it did. I know for a fact that it did. And it's a brilliant solo variant. Like, the Anima for Stonemaier games are just excellent. I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing. Because it's so elegant. Like, you have one card, and then you draw from the top, and then you just look at the middle, and then it's just like you pretty much just go from top to bottom. Okay, well, they're going to discard a card. They're going to recall their people. Okay, now the black player is just going to place one of his dice into this spot. The white player is then going to do this, and boom, that's that. You just do it so quick. Because your turns, as if you're playing it by yourself, also go by extremely quick because you only place one die at a time. With the expansion, you can place the same results, but you have to pay a morale to do so. And it was a tight race the entire way through. It's just like, okay, man, what are they gonna do? Like, you can't ever really predict what they're gonna do because of the cards. Like, you just have to hope. Okay, I hope that they don't do this, because if they do this, it's gonna screw me over. But just like a regular person game, they have their own faction allegiances. In my game, the black player wanted to kind of focus on the Wastelanders. And they do that intentionally. Like, you can, when you're setting up, you make sure you draw these faction cards to where they're different than the recruit that you have, because that way they're going to go for something else. And you can do it to where they have the same one. Just like in a regular person game, like in a multiplayer game, you can do that. But if you're all focusing for the same one, you're both going to get the stars, the authority tokens, whenever you you max out the allegiance track. So I really like that. I like the versatility. Love this 2-card system. It works out extremely well. The only thing about the variant is just kind of like, in terms of like the markets, that's kind of the most confusing thing. And they have this Anima action reference card as a player aid, and it's okay. So the actions are extremely simple. The game isn't like so complicated that it's like, okay, well, there's a billion things to do. There's really not. And for a fact, you don't have to manage resources, you don't have to manage commodities, you don't have to manage cards. They get the benefits for that, for the spaces that they go on, and that's that. That's just how easily it goes. But whenever they are like going to place somewhere, it's like, okay, so they're going to place in their area. Well, their area doesn't have anything, so then they do this tiebreaker thing. And then the card itself is not that helpful. That's why I was like, okay, I need to go to the rulebook, because the rulebook kind of lays it out a little bit better, because literally on the last 2 pages it does the artifact market action and also the constructed market action. So And honestly, the market actions are where they're going to end up going for the most anyway. And I mean, they're pretty smart. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, this one's in my area. That one, if I go there, it's going to allow me to move up on the track. But by the end of it, then they're going to go for the ones that are penalizing them, which I like the fact that they can get penalized. Because what they did really well here was that while the Automas they don't have to worry about resources, they can go anywhere for free. They are still one at the whim of the deck, like what would be a smart move for them, they might not do. But two, they could also, they have multiple chances of drawing their people back, of recalling their people. So that essentially takes up their turn, just like it would for you. And in any dice worker placement game or any worker placement game, recalling your people for your turn, it sucks because you're just like, great, I'd like to do this, but man, I can't because I have to spend my turn getting my people back. Oh, well, that person still has workers, so he might go to the spot that I want. Same situation here. Like, excuse me. It's the fact that if I'm racing to try and build a construction site, and I place one worker there, and then they only have the one, but an action comes out that makes them recall, well, that means that they're not doing anything, which allows me, if I have a worker, to come in and build the market that I planned on doing, and only I get the card. So, because of the fact that they can have their people locked up means they're going to be recalling their people quicker. I like that. I think that's really fair, because a lot of solo variants I've played, nope, there's no penalties. The skill or the difficulty of the Automa is the fact that you just have to play better than them. That sounds stupid. You have to essentially race quicker than them. Whereas having all the headaches of managing resources, feeding your people, or whatever it may be, whereas they're just like, place here, place here, place here, place here. Oh, I get a point each time I do that. And it's like, okay, but like, because you want to, at least what I want out of a variant is I want it to simulate playing against another person as easily or as closely as possible. And some games don't do that. This one, I think, did a really good job. In fact, like, it literally came down to they both had 1 star left. So one of them was going to win. In fact, by the draw that I did, the white player was going to win. I just happened to actually have 2 of the same one, and because they happened to keep going to the electrical spot to place their tokens in their tokens in territories, and that kept moving it up. So it's like, oh, I have this one that's gonna let me to move it up place 2. It just worked out really well for me. But that's how it would work for a multiplayer game. They did such a good job with it. I'm very pleased. Yeah, I mean, I can't really talk a whole lot. Like, essentially, them building the markets is going to really, the negative effects of the markets are really only going to affect you. Like I said, they can still be penalized and lose their smartest worker. They'll never have to do knowledge checks, so that it's balanced, I feel. They might have ways to recall their workers back, but you also can get workers, but you might have you run the risk of losing the worker just as easily. Yeah, I mean, it was actually interesting with the commodities, because if it was their own commodity, they wanted to place their lowest die, which of course would allow them to move up on the track, which they can get 2 stars for going up on the track. That's also to essentially replicate that fact that they have 2 recruits. Like, I had 2 in the Euphorian faction. That's kind of to represent theirs. And so, which I like. I think that makes sense. So they wanted to do that, but they also would only, if they're going to other people's commodities, they would use their highest die, which was essentially, I'm assuming, the game's balance to where you're not going real low to try and go up on the faction track as well, the allegiance track. So I thought that was interesting, because it made it extremely difficult for me to want to go somewhere to try and move up on the allegiance track, and then at the same time, the there was a time where they kept going to the farm. That's just the way that the beginner cards came out. And because they don't get food or anything, or have to worry about morals or cards or anything. It was just them going there. But I guess it would have worked if I was trying to get food, because food, I mean, you want food, technically. That allows you to, when you recall your people, to increase in morale, which then allows you to have more cards, and having a bunch of cards allows you to place things in territories normally. So yeah, it was super balanced, and I definitely see why they took this system and put it into Tapestry for their solo variant. Like, it just... It makes sense. I don't see why you wouldn't continue to do that. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, if you want to know what our thoughts are on Euphoria by itself in the multiplayer setting, definitely go check out the discussion for that. That was just my thoughts on the solo variant. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, let's see. Well, here's the thing. It's still not... It wasn't very exciting. Like, Euphoria... What makes Euphoria fun is that race between players. Like, you... Because if someone builds a market, then whoever didn't help do that, suffers the consequences. Yeah, I like the fact that they could still be penalized, but it's not the same as, like, actually being hindered by some game-breaking thing until you go and actually do it yourself. I still like the race between... players a little bit more. Like, this one worked. I really had no issues with it. But like, I honestly don't think I'd come back to Euphoria to play for its solo variant. It just doesn't have that kind of feel. The other games, Tapestry solo variant, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'll never play Tapestry again, but like, I do that solo. The Viticulture, I would do that solo. Scythe, of course, I would do that solo. So this one, for some reason, it didn't have like that, ooh, I mean, except until the very end, where I was like, oh, it's actually going to work. But yeah, I mean, I'm still going to give the solo variant an 8 out of 10. Like, I think that's a really good, solid score for a very solid solo variant, an Anima system. But like, even though I really had no negatives about it, it's like, it wasn't it was just like, like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain. It just wasn't that exciting like it was playing with other people. But that's just my thoughts. And that's what I think on the solo variant for Euphoria. Build a better dystopia and its expansion, Ignorance is Bliss. Let me know what you think of the solo variant in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.